Listen carefully because what I am about to tell you is the beginning of all freedom. Most people wake each morning trying to protect their lives, they protect their comfort, they protect their reputation, they protect their future. And because they are constantly protecting something, they are constantly afraid of losing something. Fear becomes their silent companion, walking beside them, breathing beside them, whispering into every decision they make. But the warrior walks a different path. Before the sun rises, before the first step is taken, before the mind begins its endless noise, the warrior has already accepted the one thing others spend their entire lives running from: loss, pain, death. Understand this deeply. Fear does not come from danger itself. Fear comes from the possibility of losing what you cling to. The tighter you hold, the more fragile you become. The more you try to preserve life, the more terrified you are of anything that threatens it. But when a person has already accepted that everything can be taken, something extraordinary happens. Nothing can threaten them anymore. Imagine walking into every challenge with nothing left to defend, no pride to protect, no image to maintain, no guarantee of tomorrow to cling to. What fear could survive inside such a mind? What danger could shake someone who has already made peace with the worst outcome? This is not darkness, this is clarity. When you accept death, you do not become careless, you become precise. Every moment sharpens, every breath becomes real, every decision becomes intentional. Life is no longer something you assume will continue, it is something you experience fully because you know it can end. Those who fear death live half alive. Those who accept it live completely. Look at how most people move through the world. They hesitate before action because they fear failure. They remain silent because they fear judgment. They delay decisions because they fear regret. Their lives are shaped not by purpose but by avoidance. Avoid discomfort. Avoid risk. Avoid loss. Avoid endings. And in avoiding all these things, they unknowingly avoid living itself. But the warrior does something most cannot even imagine. Each morning he reminds himself that today could be his last, not as a dramatic thought, not as a sad thought, but as a grounding truth, a stabilizing force, a sharpening blade against the dullness of illusion. When you truly understand that life is temporary, trivial fears begin to look exactly as they are: small shadows pretending to be mountains. You fear embarrassment, yet life itself is uncertain. You fear rejection, yet existence offers no guarantees. You fear failure, yet time erases everything anyway. When seen from the edge of mortality, these fears lose their authority. They shrink, they dissolve, they reveal themselves as inventions of an overprotected mind. This acceptance does not make the warrior cold, it makes him present. He laughs freely because he does not assume there will always be another chance. He speaks honestly because he does not postpone truth. He acts decisively because hesitation no longer feels safe, it feels wasteful. Every movement becomes clean, direct, unburdened. Understand this carefully: acceptance is not surrender, it is release. Surrender says, I give up because I am weak. Acceptance says, I see reality clearly, and I am no longer controlled by illusion. There is immense strength in seeing things exactly as they are. Life is temporary, the body is fragile, outcomes are uncertain, nothing you possess can be held forever. Once this truth is fully accepted, not just understood but absorbed, fear has no foundation to stand on. Fear requires hope of permanence. But permanence does not exist. And when you no longer expect permanence, you stop fearing its loss. Many believe courage means feeling no fear. This is misunderstanding. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the absence of attachment that feeds fear. When nothing inside you is desperately clinging, fear has nothing to grab onto. Picture a tree during a violent storm. The rigid branches snap, the deeply rooted trunk survives. Acceptance is the root. It grounds the spirit so completely that no external force can tear it away. The warrior does not pretend danger is not real. He simply does not resist its possibility, because he has already faced it internally, completely, honestly. And once something has been faced fully within the mind, it loses its power to disturb the heart. This is why calmness appears mysterious to others. They see composure under pressure and believe it is talent or training or personality, but the source is simpler than all of these. Nothing left to lose means nothing left to fear. When a person has accepted the end, they are finally free to begin. Free to act without trembling. Free to decide without paralysis. Free to live without constant negotiation with imagined disasters. Freedom is not found by securing life. It is found by releasing the demand that life must be secure. There is peace in this, a deep, immovable stillness, not because the world becomes safe, but because you no longer require it to be safe in order to stand firm. This is why the warrior's mind remains steady even when the ground shakes. He does not depend on the world to remain stable. He has already stabilized himself against its most extreme possibility. Once this acceptance becomes real, truly real, something profound happens. Energy that was once wasted on fear becomes available for action. Attention that was once trapped in worry becomes clear and focused. Strength that was once consumed by avoidance becomes available for movement. You do not become fearless by trying to destroy fear. You become fearless by removing the illusion that feeds it. And that illusion is the belief that anything in this life can be permanently held. Release that belief and fear has nowhere left to live. So each morning before the world begins its noise, remember the truth most avoid, not to darken your spirit but to sharpen it, not to weaken your heart but to liberate it. Accept the end and you will finally understand how to live. Make peace with death and fear will never command your steps again. Now that you understand what it means to stand without fear of loss, you must understand what comes next. Freedom from fear is not the final step. It is only the ground beneath your feet. What you build upon that ground will determine whether you rise above others or fall back into weakness disguised as comfort. Many believe that strength comes from the body. They believe power is in speed, force, endurance, or technique, but the body is only a servant. It obeys whatever commands the mind gives it. If the mind is scattered, the body moves without precision. If the mind is emotional, the body reacts without control. If the mind is weak, even great physical skill collapses under pressure. So the true battle is never outside. The true battle is within the mind that commands everything. Look closely at your thoughts when you wake, not the thoughts you choose, the thoughts that arrive uninvited. Worry, distraction, memory, regret, anticipation, noise without purpose. Most people believe these thoughts are harmless. They treat them like passing clouds, but they do not realize that these small, uncontrolled thoughts slowly train the mind to wander, to react, to lose focus. And a wandering mind cannot strike cleanly. A reactive mind cannot see clearly. A distracted mind cannot remain steady when pressure arrives. If you cannot command your own thoughts in silence, how will you command yourself in chaos? The untrained mind behaves like water poured onto the ground. It spreads everywhere, filling whatever shape the world gives it. But the trained mind is like water held within a blade, directed, contained, and capable of force. This is why the warrior begins not with movement, but with stillness. Each morning, before action, before speech, before engagement with the world, there must be a moment where you observe the state of your own mind. Not to judge it, not to fight it, only to see it clearly. Most people are strangers to their own thoughts. They are carried by them like leaves in the wind, never asking where the wind comes from or why it changes direction. But awareness changes everything. When you observe a thought without immediately following it, you weaken its control. When you notice emotion without obeying it, you loosen its grip. When you see distraction arise and pass without attachment, you begin to experience what mastery truly is. Control does not mean suppression, it means command. A warrior does not destroy thought. He decides which thoughts deserve movement and which deserve silence. Consider how quickly emotion can hijack the untrained mind. Anger appears and speech becomes sharp, fear appears and posture collapses, doubt appears and action freezes. In each moment the person believes they are choosing their response, but they are not choosing, they are reacting, and reaction is the opposite of mastery. To react is to surrender leadership of the self. To command is to remain the leader, no matter what arises within or around you. This is why discipline of mind must be practiced when nothing is happening, because when something is happening, it is already too late to begin training. The storm does not teach the tree how to root itself. The roots must already be deep before the storm arrives. Every moment of awareness strengthens these roots. When you sit quietly and watch your thoughts come and go, you are sharpening your inner vision. When you return your focus again and again to a single point, your breath, your posture, your awareness, you are forging stability that cannot be shaken easily. Most people underestimate how powerful attention truly is. Wherever attention goes, energy follows. Wherever energy flows, habit forms, and habits become character. So if your attention constantly follows distraction, you train weakness. If your attention constantly follows impulse, you train instability. If your attention constantly follows emotion, you train surrender. But if your attention obeys *u, then everything else begins to obey as well. This is not mystical, it is practical. A calm mind sees more, a focused mind decides faster. A disciplined mind wastes no energy on useless internal noise, and when the mind wastes no energy, its power becomes concentrated. Like sunlight scattered across a field warms nothing, but sunlight focused through a single point can ignite fire. Such is the difference between ordinary awareness and trained awareness. When the mind is steady, time appears to slow, situations become clearer, movements become precise, words become intentional, nothing is rushed yet nothing is delayed, action arises exactly when it is needed, not before, not after. This is effortless control, but it is built through relentless practice. You must understand, mastery of mind is not achieved once, it is maintained daily. Just as a blade must be cleaned and sharpened regularly, the mind must be observed and aligned again and again. Neglect it and rust appears silently. Distraction returns quietly. Emotion regains influence gradually. Weakness rarely arrives loudly, it seeps in through small moments of inattention. That is why the warrior treats awareness not as an occasional exercise but as a way of living. Walking aware, speaking aware, listening aware, acting aware, even resting aware, this continuous presence prevents the mind from slipping back into unconscious reaction. And something remarkable happens when this level of awareness becomes natural. You begin to see not only your own thoughts but the patterns of others. Their tension becomes visible, their hesitation becomes predictable, their emotional shifts become obvious before they even act. Why? Because a still mind perceives movement more clearly, both within and outside. This is true advantage, not speed of the body but clarity of perception, not force of action but precision of timing, not aggression but complete internal alignment. And once you experience this alignment, you realize something profound. Most people are not defeated by external forces, they are defeated by internal disorder. Their energy is scattered, their attention is divided, their emotions are ungoverned. They lose before the conflict even begins because they never mastered the commander within. But when the mind is disciplined, the body follows without hesitation. Action becomes simple, decision becomes direct, presence becomes unshakable. This is the quiet power that others feel but cannot understand. They sense stability, they sense control, they sense something immovable, not because of physical strength but because nothing inside is out of order. And when nothing inside is out of order, nothing outside can easily create chaos within you. Train the mind each morning, observe it, steady it, command it, not because the world demands perfection but because mastery of self is the only ground that never collapses. Rule your mind, or your mind will rule every moment of your life.